Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 10 based on novel. So let's start. The sound of air shattering rapidly resounded in the sky. On the top of the mountain peak, every single pair of eyes started to shift due to this whooshing sound, before carrying some excitement as they turned towards the direction where the whooshing sound came from. Has he finally arrived? Under the tens of thousands of earnest gazes, the whooshing sound increased violently. After a few breaths, a human figure appeared in front of everyone. The person traveled through the air before landing in the middle of the stadium under the gazes of everyone present. The person faced the opposite side of the stadium before he cupped his hands towards Chen and Wu Dao. With a slightly apologetic voice, he said, "Disciple is late. Haha, it's fine now that you are here." Chen smiled before stroking his beard with his hands, while his eyes scanned across Lin Dong's body. However, he did not manage to discover any differences even after these past 5 days. Jiang Hao slowly stood up from the tall platform before he glared at Lin Dong. "Junior brother Lin Dong, I almost assumed that you were planning to run away from today's fight," he said with a smile. Lin Dong wouldn't dare to forget about senior brother's challenge, right? Said Lin Dong softly after giving a faint smile. "Haha, you're bold." Jiang Hao gave a loud laugh before tapping the platform with his foot. He shot forward like an eagle and appeared directly in front of Lin Dong. Waving his large sleeves, a yuan power fluctuation that seemingly encompassed the sky erupted out. This caused exclaimed expressions to appear on the faces of quite a few disciples. Feeling the oppression caused by the yuan power billowing out of Jiang Hao's body, a smile appeared on Lin Dong's face. 7 yuan Nirvana stage is powerful indeed. At this moment, there were quite a few pairs of eyes staring on Lin Dong ever since his appearance. This was obviously due to the massive fame that was attached to his name. Even the disciples from the 3 other halls knew about this top-tier individual called Lin Dong. However, not many of them had actually seen him in the flesh. Furthermore, there was an enormous number of Desolate Hall branch disciples present today. That person is senior brother Lin Dong? I heard that he actually dared to challenge a senior direct disciple like Jiang Hao after entering the Desolate Hall for less than a month. Heh, what do you know? It's said that senior brother Lin Dong was the champion of the 100 Empire War. Furthermore, he even rejected Yuan Gate's invitation and instead chose to join our Dao sect. Hence, he is not someone that can be compared with any ordinary direct disciple. 100 Empire War champion? That truly is incredible. The past few champions have always been monopolized by Yuan Gate. However, senior brother Jiang Hao is unlike those opponents in the 100 Empire War. I'm afraid senior brother Lin Dong will hit a wall today. Haha, senior brother Lin Dong is quite handsome. I hope that he can win. You're lovesick. Soft discussion sounds could be heard continuously ringing around in the stadium. Over tens of thousands of branch disciples were staring intently at Lin Dong. Amongst them, there were quite a few young and beautiful female disciples as well. As such, amongst the gossips, there was quite a few witty remarks and laughter mixed in too. This caused the environment of the place to grow quite lively. Hearing the discussion noises coming from the surroundings, Lin Dong could not resist and gave a faint smile. Only after lightly scanning with his eyes, did he realize the enormous number of disciples. He clicked his tongue. This is the disciple foundation of the Desolate Hall? It is quite valiant indeed. He could sense that even the branch disciples had all advanced into Nirvana stage. This meant that there were over tens of thousands of Nirvana stage experts just within the Desolate Hall. Including the 3 other halls, the total amount would be worthy of a super sect lineage, thought Lin Dong. Lin Dong involuntarily felt shocked in his heart. He finally understood why the super sects were the true overlords of the Eastern Xian region. This strength was something that an empire alone could never compare with. Take for example his Great Yang Empire. A Nirvana stage expert would be considered as an elite individual there. However, if he was placed within the Dao sect, he would barely qualify to become a branch disciple. Jiang Hao did a lazy stretch, faced Chen and Wu Dao and said with a smile, "Senior Uncle Chen, since junior brother Lin Dong has already arrived, can we begin the fight? There are many disciples behind waiting for the chance to get promoted. After hearing his words, Chen Zhen nodded his head before looking towards Lin Dong and Jiang Hao. He said in a deep voice, "We do not forbid disciples within the desolate hall to spar with each other. However, I want the two of you to be very clear that this is merely a spar. This is the Dao sect and both of you are fellow disciples, not bitter enemies. Yes?" After hearing Chen Zhen's stern warning, both Lin Dong and Jiang Hao did not dare to neglect as they respectfully replied. When he saw their actions, Chen Zhen nodded his head in satisfaction. With a wave of his hand, he said, "In that case, I shall declare that the monthly competition has begun. Lin Dong, if you are able to spar evenly with Jiang Hao, you will gain the qualifications to become the 5th senior direct disciple. Furthermore, you will also become the fastest person in the history of Desolate Hall to become a senior direct disciple. Disciple will do his best." Lin Dong replied and nodded his head. Slowly turning his body to face Jiang Hao, he lightly saluted and said, "Senior brother Jiang Hao, please guide me." Following the appearance of Lin Dong's words, the whispering sounds present within the arena instantly disappeared. Tens of thousands of gazes stared intently at the center of the arena. This stifling atmosphere caused some people to be unable to catch their breath. "You want to become the 5th senior direct disciple? However, it's not going to be so easy to pass through me," said Jiang Hao casually as he stared at Lin Dong. Lin Dong curled his lip and replied in a soft voice with a smile on his face, "In that case, the only thing I can is to defeat you, senior brother. This wouldn't happen just by words alone." Jiang Hao gave a casual smile before his vision instantly became swift and fierce. He took a step forward before boundless yuan power erupted from his body without restraint. He had already decided to unleash his maximum strength. After all, he wanted to defeat Lin Dong with a lightning-like speed in order to let him clearly understand that the current him still does not possess the qualifications to become a senior direct disciple. Sensing the swift and fierce oppression coming from Jiang Hao, a trace of seriousness appeared on Lin Dong's vision before he took in a deep breath. Jiang Hao was one of the senior direct disciples in Desolate Hall and his combat prowess and strength must not be underestimated. Upon entering the challenge, Jiang Hao's face turned into one of cold indifference. He also had no intention of warming up first. Instead, with a grasp of his hand, boundless yuan power condensed with lightning-like speed in his palm. Finally, it turned into an 11-feet-long golden-colored saber. An astonishingly swift and fierce fluctuation was emitted by it. Roar! After materializing his saber, Jiang Hao suddenly took a step forward. A remnant shade was left at his original position. However, his body morphed into a ray of light and soared towards Lin Dong with a frightening speed. Jiang Hao's speed was frightening. In a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Lin Dong. With a cold gaze, his golden blade sliced through space. Carrying a frightening amount of chilliness, he hacked at Lin Dong with a lightning-like speed. Before the blade glow could descend, the swift and fierce chi from it had already left deep marks on the ground. Facing the lightning quick offensive launched by Jiang Hao, Lin Dong suddenly flipped his palm. Instantly, a black metal seal flashed and appeared, causing winds to violent rage as it morphed into an enormous iron symbol. It violently slammed against that golden glow, causing sparks to erupt before a metallic sound resounded throughout the air. Violent winds erupted from the center of the stadium. Jiang Hao's body trembled as he quickly retreated several steps. However, it was obvious that his combat experience was extremely rich. While he retreated, blade glow instantly erupted forth before it transformed into a dozen over-glowing afterimages and viciously slammed against the black metal seal. Bang! Due to the violent blade glows, the black metal seal was directly shaken and smashed away. However, before the metal seal flew off, a person appeared before it in a flash. Green light started to appear on his arms, before instantly morphing into Green Dragon's gigantic arm. Lin Dong's Green Dragon arm heavily pressed against the black metal seal. Fearful strength erupted from the arm and directly shook and dissipated the frightening blade afterimages. After which, he clenched his hand tightly into a fist and slammed it viciously against the iron seal. Clang! The black iron seal was directly blown away by Lin Dong's fist. It was just like a black meteorite as it charged towards Jiang Hao, with an incomparably wild and violent strength. Looking at the metal seal approaching him like a meteorite, the cold glint within Jiang Hao's eye grew even colder. Radiant golden light crazily gathered on his fist, causing a boundless fluctuation to spread out before he also launched a fist and smashed against the iron seal. Boom! The enormous metal seal was once again smashed and rebounded by his fist. Despite its massive size, it was just like a toy that was being flung around by Lin Dong and Jiang Hao. Seeing this play out, it caused the eyes of quite a few people to flutter. Lin Dong moved his body and once again appeared on top of the black metal seal. His eyes were locked on Jiang Hao, who was standing in the stadium. Within his eyes, one could feel the excitement within his body beginning to boil. "Since you want to fight, let's have a good fight," Lin Dong exclaimed as the corners of his mouth cracked open. His other hand started to wriggle about, before morphing into another ferocious-looking green dragon arm in front of the shocked audience. "You are skilled indeed." Within the stadium, Jiang Hao grasped the golden-colored saber in his hand and stood proudly. His fiery gaze was locked onto Lin Dong, who was stepping on the metal seal hovering in midair. He took a deep breath before a formidable fluctuation gradually started to surface from within his body. When this fluctuation appeared, the ground around Jiang Hao started to wither at a frightening rate. Desolate force. Quite a few gazes of the disciples started to focus at this instant. Jiang Hao was about to use desolate force. This was the special energy that was solely possessed by the Desolate Hall disciples. Numerous tiny seals swiftly spread out from the spot where Jiang Hao stood. The green stones beneath his feet also began to wither one after another at a shocking rate. It was as if they had been worn down by the passage of time. Desolate force. It was the unique energy of the Desolate Hall and also the mark of a Desolate Hall's disciple. Being one of the 4 senior direct disciples of the Desolate Hall, Jiang Hao had mastered the desolation skill until the 7th level. As such, the ferocity of his martial art was several times stronger than Tong Chuan's. Lin Dong stood on the black metal seal. His eyes were solemn as he stared at Jiang Hao below. He slowly flexed his huge green dragon arms before waves of surging strength swiftly spread across his limbs. Desolate blade. Jiang Hao raised his head and looked directly at Lin Dong with chilly eyes. An icy cold voice was emitted from his mouth. Immediately, the golden light was withdrawn from the large golden saber in his hand, before numerous seal patterns slowly appeared on his blade. However, the fluctuation on his blade was not weakened when that seal pattern appeared. Instead, it caused one's heart to tremble. Desolate blade. One of the martial arts that the disciples of the Desolate Hall must learn. It was activated by desolate force and possessed an extremely shocking lethal strength. Lin Dong had already experienced it when he fought with Tong Chuan. However, from the looks of it, it was obvious that the desolate blade used by Jiang Hao was even more powerful. Jiang Hao suddenly took a step forward when the desolate blade was formed. He slashed his blade downwards and the space in front of him immediately became extremely distorted. A greyish blade glow directly tore through space and engulfed Lin Dong at a frightening speed. As that grey blade glow rapidly magnified in Lin Dong's eyes, the expression in the latter's eyes also suddenly became sharp. However, even as he faced this fearsome attack by Jiang Hao, he did not choose to retreat. Instead, Lin Dong stomped on the metal seal and directly flew out in front of many stunned gazes. Flash! A resplendent green light suddenly erupted on Lin Dong's body as he rushed forward. The green light rose and it vaguely transformed into an enormous dragon figure behind him. Its aura was quite frightening. The huge dragon figure crouched behind Lin Dong and both of its claws were tightly clenched. The dragon scales on both of the green dragon arms were flickering with an icy cool luster. Waves after waves of frightening strength surged under the dragon scales before finally gushing out. The green light, which contained enough power to blast apart a mountain, descended from the sky. Finally, it violently collided against that sharp grey-colored blade glow. Boom! A shocking sound spread out in the sky. Following the ripple, there was a hurricane-like energy fluctuation. Jiang Hao's eyes were slightly cold as he watched the light that scattered across the sky. There was a trace of surprise deep within his eyes. After having used the desolate force, his blade attack was sufficient to easily destroy the defenses of a 6-yuan Nirvana stage expert. However, it was actually blocked by Lin Dong. A surprised expression flashed across Jiang Hao's eyes. Immediately, a hurried rushing wind sound suddenly resounded in the sky. A glowing figure shot out from within that green light with a lightning-like speed. In a flash, it had appeared in the space above Jiang Hao. Light surged from his green dragon arm. Under the flickering icy-cold light, another frightening force once again came pouring out. Lin Dong did not use any martial art and his attack was not fancy. However, upon being magnified by his dragon arm, that pure destructive attack covered up any openings. Everything was useless in the face of strength. After Lin Dong's arms transformed into green dragon arms, the strength that it possessed was sufficient to destroy a 6-yuan Nirvana stage expert's Nirvana golden body. Such formidable strength! Jiang Hao also sensed the strength that was contained within Lin Dong's fist. Immediately, his eyes turned cold. Only then did he finally realize that Lin Dong's physical body was actually this formidable. Desolate net. Although Lin Dong's attack was wild and violent, Jiang Hao was clearly not an ordinary individual. His face revealed a cold smile before he suddenly placed his palms together. Instantly, countless grey threads spun out from the tip of his fingers. It soared with the wind and transformed into an enormous grey net. Immediately, this grey net directly covered Lin Dong. Lin Dong's fist violently smashed against that enormous net. Surprisingly, he was unable to break it with his punch. Despite using a massive amount of force, it felt as if he had punched into the mud. The feeling of his fist smashing onto cotton caused Lin Dong to frown tightly. While Lin Dong punched that grey net, the latter also instantly twined around him. It actually trapped Lin Dong with a lightning-like speed. This fellow is in deep trouble. It is not easy to escape after being trapped by the desolate net. Subsequently, it is likely that he will become a sitting duck for Jiang Hao's attacks. Pang Tong and the other two raised their brows upon seeing this scene. Since they were highly knowledgeable about Desolate Hall martial arts, they were naturally aware of just how difficult it was to deal with the Desolate Net, which was made from Desolate Force. Junior brother Lin Dong, this is the difference between you and me. A smirk appeared on Jiang Hao's face at this moment. Promptly, his eyes turned solemn as grey qi gathered rapidly on his hand. Traces of seals began to spread over his arms. At the same time, there was an extremely frightening fluctuation being emitted. Golden State Special Desolate Palm. Jiang Hao's eyes were cold. He did not hesitate even a little as he flipped his palm and executed an extremely fierce palm attack. Air burst apart under that palm wind, while an ear-piercing buzzing sound was also emitted. Jiang Hao attacked extremely quickly. The palm wind had just sounded out when in the next instant, it was already about to reach Lin Dong, who was being trapped by the desolate net. From the looks of its momentum, even Lin Dong would suffer some injuries if he was struck by it. After struggling briefly within the desolate net, Lin Dong also became aware of how troublesome it was to deal with it. However, there was no panic in his eyes. He stared at the fierce palm attack from Jiang Hao before immediately inhaling a deep breath of air. The fist-sized desolate seed within his dantian began to tremble intensely. Waves after waves of desolate force followed his medians and gushed out. The desolate force surged. After which, everyone saw Lin Dong once again raise his ferocious green dragon arms. However, this time around, the green light on it had strangely disappeared. Traces of patterns began to climb over it. Is that desolate force? Some of those direct disciples, who were closer to the arena, shrunk their eyes immediately. This fluctuation also belonged to the desolate force. It seems like Lin Dong was also able to use desolate force. How is this be possible? Tong Chuan, who was a short distance away, had a stunned expression. He clearly recalled that Lin Dong was not even aware of what the desolate force was 5 days ago. How is it possible that he managed to use desolate force? Could it be that he had actually learnt it in 5 days? Tong Chuan's face involuntarily twitched a little when he thought of this. If one wants to release desolate force until such an extent, one must at the very least form a desolate seed. Could it be that Lin Dong had successfully formed a desolate seed during these 5 days? Lin Dong ignored the uproar that suddenly sounded from the surroundings of the arena. While his arm was gradually covered with cracked lines, his eyes also suddenly turned cold. Finally, he ruthlessly threw a punch. Lin Dong's fist wind first came into contact with the desolate net that trapped him. However, this time around, the cotton-like feeling did not appear. Under the outpour of his terrifying strength, the desolate net shook before finally breaking apart after only enduring for a short while. Jiang Hao's sharp palm wind arrived at the moment the desolate net collapsed. It violently collided against Lin Dong's grey dragon fist in front of the many gazes present. Boom! A shocking and solidified ripple swept apart. Numerous enormous cracked lines immediately appeared on the surrounding ground, while large rocks danced wildly in the sky. Finally, 2 figures shot backwards in front of the many eyes present. Both of them retreated over a dozen steps before they staggered and stabilized themselves. Neither of them was actually able to gain an upper hand in this simple head-on collision. The atmosphere in the arena was a little quiet. Everyone was silent as they stared at this unusually fearsome clash. Quite a number of people inhaled a breath of cold air when these 2 people were forced back. Even Pang Tong and the others had a slight change in their expression. Clearly, they did not expect that Lin Dong was actually able to fight evenly with Jiang Hao. Although Jiang Hao had yet to use his strongest attack, his Yuan power mastery had exceeded Lin Dong by 2 stages. Seated on their stone chairs, Chen Zhen and Wu Dao had a strange flicker within their eyes when they saw this scene. The 100 Empire War Champion really lives up to his name. Jiang Hao's face was currently filled with a serious expression. Perhaps he may have underestimated Lin Dong at the beginning of the fight. However, right now, Jiang Hao definitely saw the latter as a worthy opponent. Lin Dong curled his lips. He clenched his hand while green light flickered on his arm, as he tried to shake off the numb sensations in his arm. During the previous clash, if it was not for his strong physical body cultivated from the green heaven materialized dragon skill, he would have definitely been injured. If you are able to receive my next attack, I will accept your promotion to senior direct disciple. Jiang Hao's expression was solemn. He took a stride forward and both of his hands slowly formed a somewhat unusual seal. Grayish light erupted from within his body. The bits and pieces of it were just like rising stars. Great Star Majestic Fist. Upon seeing his hand seal, Pang Tong's group and even Chen Zhen and Wu Dao had a sudden change in their expressions. Clearly, they recognized the martial art that Jiang Hao was about to use. One of the 4 great martial arts. Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath of air. He saw the martial arts on the 4 stone tablets and he naturally recognized Jiang Hao's hand seal. Immediately, a grave expression appeared on his face. A moment later, he slowly extended his long finger and gently touched the spot between his eyebrows. A strange grayish glow began to flicker at that spot. Chen Zhen and Wu Dao on the stone seat were initially stunned when they saw his action. Immediately, as if they thought of something, a rich disbelief surged in their eyes. A somewhat dry and hoarse voice was involuntarily emitted from their mouths. Could it be? Lin Dong shut his eyes as he stood in the arena. His expression was quite calm in the face of this unusually fierce attack by Jiang Hao. Moreover, there was no especially powerful ripple appearing around his body. His actions caused quite a number of people to frown. Jiang Hao's attack was not a simple one and even a 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert would have some difficulties handling it, should he lack any powerful tactics. While everyone was engaged in private conversations, the grey line between Lin Dong's eyebrows became increasingly rich. It expanded and contracted unsteadily, appearing as though there was something that was about to be born from the grey line. Bang bang. In contrast to Lin Dong's strange calmness, the area around Jiang Hao was extremely lively. An extremely shocking Yuan power ripple containing the desolate force continuously spread out from within his body. His aura was truly frightening. Grey light climbed onto Jiang Hao's body before gradually agglomerating. It was as though it had vaguely agglomerated into a 10-feet grey star in midair in front of him. The star's shape was undefined. Its surface was filled with potholes, appearing just like a meteorite. However, this seemingly normal appearance rippled and formed a frightening fluctuation that caused some distortions to appear in the surrounding sky. Everyone in the arena, including Pang Tong's group, had a solemn expression on their faces because of Jiang Hao's attack. Those direct disciples and the rest even had some shocked-filled eyes. They were aware that if it was them, there was likely nothing they could do to resist that attack. He is indeed worthy of being a senior direct disciple. Quite a number of disciples secretly sighed in their hearts. Jiang Hao did indeed possess extraordinary talent, and he deserved to be one of the 4 senior direct disciples of the Desolate Hall. Great Star Majestic Fist was one of the 4 great martial arts of the Desolate Hall, and only the 4 senior direct disciples in Desolate Hall have successfully mastered it. Senior Lin Dong is in quite a bad situation. At the same time, some disciples involuntarily looked towards Lin Dong, who had turned quiet. Although the latter's action puzzled them, in face of Jiang Hao's terrifying attack, they were simply unable to imagine that Lin Dong could contend against him. Perhaps, they may not doubt Lin Dong's potential. After all, though he only joined the Desolate Hall for less than a month, he was able to challenge one of the 4 senior direct disciples, Jiang Hao, and even forced the latter to use his signature move, Great Star Majestic Fist. Other than the 3 other senior direct disciples, it was likely that only Lin Dong possessed such capabilities. They are about to determine the victor in one move. Pang Tong's eyes were also looking at the arena as he muttered. Immediately, his eyes drifted towards Chen Zhen and Wu Dao, who were seated on the stone stair. After which, he was stunned. This was because he saw an extremely shocked expression on their faces. Pang Tong was shocked upon seeing this. His heart also suddenly began to throb wildly. Could it be? On the stone chair, Chen Zhen's voice was hoarse and he was even unable to finish his sentence. He stared in shock at that spot between Lin Dong's eyebrows while the expression on his face changed rapidly. It can't be that martial arts, back then even Senior Ju Tong did not successfully learn it. Senior Mo also turned blind while learning it. Wu Dao's voice was also somewhat dry. There was also a rich disbelief on top of this dryness. This disbelief had exceeded the intensity that he felt from Lin Dong, Pill River head immersion result. Chen Zhen turned quiet and he could only shake his head. If Lin Dong was truly able to gain an initial mastery over that martial art within a short 5 days, it could only mean that this fellow was simply too abnormal. This martial arts might be unusually powerful, but it also has its disadvantages. There is no telling if it is a good or bad thing if Lin Dong has really learnt it. Wu Dao also nodded when he heard Chen Zhen's words. There was a worried expression in his eyes as he stared at Lin Dong in the arena. Although that martial art was powerful, it was a vicious skill that severely wounded one's enemy and oneself as well. Junior Lin Dong, if you can receive this punch, I, Jiang Hao, will no longer object your promotion to become a senior direct disciple. Jiang Hao's body gradually rose into the air in the arena while being covered by a greyish glow. His eyes were sharp as he stared at Lin Dong in the distance and cried out sternly. A 10-feet grey-colored star quietly floated in front of him. Waves of extremely violent ripples swept apart like a storm. It was extremely powerful. However, Lin Dong still remained calm in the face of Jiang Hao's stern cry. The grey line between his eyebrows swiftly wiggled at this moment. It was as though there were numerous vague small grey lines spreading out while accompanied by a unique dark evil aura. The direction that they spread towards was actually Lin Dong's eyes. However, just as those numerous tiny grey lines were about to invade Lin Dong's eyes, a gentle white glow suddenly appeared around his eyes. It actually directly absorbed those numerous grey lines. If it was possible to probe into the area between Lin Dong's eyebrows at this moment, one would see an ancient stone talisman quietly suspended there. A faint white glow was being emitted from it. Below the ancient stone talisman was a spot that was filled with a strange dark evil greyish chi. Hovering amidst this greyish chi was a grey-coloured eyeball filled with a demonic scent. That eyeball was filled with an unusual and bloody trace, while an ancient ferociousness filled it. However, each time this viciousness surged forth, the ancient stone talisman above would send a rippling white glow that suppressed it until it could no longer move. A thought suddenly spread over this place at this moment. After which, the stone talisman, which was suppressing the grey eyeball, finally withdrew its white glow. The moment the stone talisman stopped suppressing it, blood traces immediately began to emerge from the grey eyeball before its ferociousness completely erupted. Great Star Majestic Fist. A low and deep cry suddenly resounded over the sky. Jiang Hao adopted a serious expression as he clenched his fingers into a fist and threw a punch without any fancy moves. Bang! His fist struck violently against the grey star in front of him. After which, the star whizzed and flew out, creating a trace of greyish tail light. It was just like a meteorite searing across the sky as it flew towards Lindong with a hard and forceful violent ripple. The star whizzed forth. Before it could land on the ground, it had already left countless cracks on the ground. The spreading ripple was such that even several disciples at a great distance away could feel a piercing pain and chillness over their skin. This chillness caused the expressions of quite a number of disciples to change. The remnant wave was already this frightening. If they were located at the spot where Lindong was, wouldn't they be directly pummeled by that fierce and violent fist wind until turned into pulp? Why is Lindong still not reacting? Over at the direct disciples, Mo Ling and the rest had anxious expressions on their faces as they stared at Lindong, who had yet to act. Their bodies involuntarily turned tense. Bang! That grey star was extremely fast. Within a couple of breaths' time, it had already arrived above Lindong. Just when everyone halted their breaths, Lindong, who had yet to show any sign of activity, finally raised his head slowly. Both of his eyes opened. The instant that Lindong opened his eyes, the grey line between his eyebrows suddenly split open. After which, a grey light agglomerated. The spot between his eyebrows had actually transformed into a grey triangular eye. The instant the grey eye appeared, the space around Lindong suddenly became distorted. An extremely destructive shockwave wildly spread apart. Chen Zhen and Wu Dao on the stone chairs finally had a drastic change in expression the moment that grey eye appeared. They suddenly stood up and involuntarily cried out in a shocked manner, "Desolate demon eye?" When they stood up, an ordinary grey beam of light erupted from Lindong's grey eye. After which, it quietly flashed past the sky and collided with the grey star. Boom! There was no earth-shaking noise the moment the collision occurred. The grey light directly penetrated through the star in a simple and unhindered manner. After which, cracked lines covered the star. Finally, it directly burst apart in front of the shocked eyes of all the disciples. Jiang Hao's fierce punch had actually been broken so easily. Jiang Hao was similarly stunned when he saw this scene. Before he could even react, the pores around his body stood up. Through his shrunken eyes, he could see a grey light beam rushing towards him with a shocking speed. That was the light beam that had penetrated through his great star majestic fist earlier. It's so fast. There is no way to dodge it. The grey beam was so fast that Jiang Hao had no way to dodge it. Immediately, he clenched his teeth. Bright golden light surged before it directly transformed into an extremely thick golden light shield in front of him. The light beam arrived in the blink of an eye. After which, it slammed against the golden light shield in front of a countless number of gazes. However, soon after, a terrified expression surged onto Jiang Hao's face. This was because he discovered that his defense was of no use against that attack. A rich feeling of danger covered his heart. Seated in his stone chair, Chen Zhen's expression was solemn. His body shook before he strangely disappeared. It seems like he had to intervene in this fight. This video will end here.